I'll see somebody taking their monkey for a walk, or they've got a rabbit in a baby sling, or they're pushing a pushchair full of doggies with clothes on and sunglasses. So, yeah, my life revolves around animals and wildlife. I do go off on little side quests about animals, so pull me back in. So, yeah, it's little
I love
moments
it also.
It's little
I
moments.
know you moved with pets also, and I will ask you about that also afterwards, because I've been there. Not
Yeah.
always easy.
Yeah, I think it's probably easier with pets than it is with kids.
I suppose they don't have that much of like, I don't know, how did you feel it with your daughter, but the fact that you say, okay, the first move with 5 years old was the easy one.
Yeah.
That's probably also because the circle of friends, the whole fact of learning a language or living something that they call home, no, at that point of time. With 5, home are your parents.
Yeah,
With
exactly.
with 15, home are your friends. No, probably like that's the main difference at that point.
Yeah, it starts changing at about the age of 8, 9, 10. And that's when they move away from mum and dad as being their entire life and recognizing that they quite like these other people that aren't you. And also it's to do with proportions. So we moved at when she was 5. Her conscious memory, if you like, of the UK wasn't that much. But she spent 5 years in Japan at a very core age, between 5 and 10. So she'll remember a lot more of Japan than she did of the UK at the time. And it sort of grows in proportion. So it's
Yeah, of
down
course.
to the very first time you move, really.
What about language wise? Like you went to a very difficult one. I mean, you went from a very difficult one to another difficult one to another difficult one, probably. No, like I mean, South Africa, it's not one, it's a lot of languages depending on where you live in South Africa. So it's
It
even
is,
more.
but let's be honest, everybody speaks English.
Okay. What about
Yeah,
Japan? How
they
how
do.
how was the yeah.
Well, we had about a year's notice before we moved.
Mhm.
But I actually was running my own business. I ran a publishing company before we moved. So I didn't actually have time to learn the language because I was too busy doing it was a magazine, hard copy magazine, and also then selling it because I needed to sell it before I moved.
Mm.
So it was about 2 nights, I think, before we caught the flight to Japan that I actually watched a program on television about the geisha of Kyoto. And of course it was in Japanese with subtitles. And oh my goodness, I can't even pick out a syllable. I can't understand a word. This is going to be interesting. But once you're in the country and you're surrounded by the sounds and I put the radio on in the car, for example. I always listen to the local radios, and you start being able to separate syllables. I am no linguist. I'm from the UK. We don't start language training until we're 11. So it's very hard for an adult of my generation. Daughter was speaking sentences in Japanese within about a month of starting school. So,
Not bad.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's also one of the advantages, I suppose, when they're kids. Like they
Yeah, they just
sorry
absorb and
about
they
that.
don't have the
Yeah.
self-consciousness that we have. They don't mind using the pronunciation, and mimicking, if you like. But
Mm.
as an adult,
They
we
don't
can't.
have also the stigma, no? On yeah, I'm
Yeah,
saying it wrong, I'm not doing this, or I'm mocking, or I feel like I'm mocking the language in front of them.
exactly. Yeah, so it is easier for a child, and they pick it up. And I've got a feeling that once they've got one language, it sort of opens up the neurons in the brain to quickly pick up other languages. I've got friends who speak 7, 8, 9 languages. I can barely get by in
Mm.
English. So, but
Yeah,
my
I suppose that's always like when you start opening a little bit of like the doors to other things, you start realizing. I have a very weird experience with this, and it's just like German helps you to learn Greek. This is something that you would never consider, for example, and that's because the grammatic of both languages are the same. So it happens, of course. Like as more languages you add to your repertoire, let's say like this, the easiest is to learn other new ones, or at least I feel like that. What
I
about
think you do, and I
school-wise?
think. Sorry.
For school-wise, like your daughter went into like English school, or was she starting in Japanese school suddenly?
No. I don't personally believe in dropping a child into a mono-language school. If well, for lots and lots of reasons, but because we thought we knew we were only going to be there for a set number of years, and she would be moving back to the UK. We kept her in the British educational system, so British International School, and as I say, things didn't quite. We didn't, my crystal ball didn't work. So, but yeah, so they did language and a lot of cultural lessons in school, but it was taught in English, and
Okay.
yeah, so
Yeah, makes sense. It's also something that I also get quite often. No, when you have an end date and you have like a date limit, you also, I don't know, you take things different from a different perspective. You don't, I don't know, you don't fully immerse from days one on like, oh, I need to be here forever. No, so
yeah, there's.
how much did you feel that you entered the Japanese culture? How much did you end being in it?
Well, I recognise that Japanese is a very pure culture, and looking as I do, I can never be fully immersed. I can't be Japanese, apart from the fact I'm 6 foot tall. They would direct me to the men's department if I wanted shoes. So you're never quite sure how to take me. But I recognise that it doesn't matter if I wear full kimono to school and speak Japanese like a native. I can still never be Japanese. And mind you, it's the same in some villages here in the UK. If your great-grandparents weren't born in that same house, you're still an outsider. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is a very different lifestyle when you know that you'll be moving on. And for some people, it means that they will stay in their expat bubble and they will only mix with people of their own nationality. And they won't even venture to even try local food, for example. They will only have the McDonald's, or it's a bit like people who go on holiday to an all-inclusive resort.
If you liked this short video out of the full episode, you can find the link to it around here and in the description below. Of course, if you are also interested in checking out other episodes, please subscribe and like.